G'day viewers, welcome to this, the first edition of Friction Zone. My name is Greg. Friction Zone, what's it about? Well, that's why you're looking at this YouTube video, because you wanted to see how you can better control your motorcycle, like myself, at slow speeds. Anybody can ride a motorbike at fast speeds, all right? The bike is designed to be straight upright and go straight when there's sufficient power provided to the rear wheel. So if you're going down the highway doing 60, 80 kilometers an hour, 40 kilometers an hour, whatever, it'll be upright and going straight, because that's what it's designed to do. The force will take it straight and it'll keep it upright, because that's how it's balanced. But at slow speeds, however, there's a different story. Where at fast speeds, the bike is actually in control. You can sit back, relax, cross your arms, it'll keep going straight as long as there's sufficient power, shoving it down the highway. At slow speeds, and we're talking about speeds from about 2 to 12 kilometers an hour, that's it. That's all the speed is, 2 to 12 kilometers an hour maximum. That's slow speeds. That's where you become in control of your motorcycle doesn't control you. Okay? So at high speeds, it only takes about 5% concentration and effort to sit on the bike and go down the highway. That's it. You know, little twinge here or there to do what you need to do, and that's it. But at slow speeds, it takes 100% of your control over the motorbike to maintain your bike at slow speed. So you're controlling it. And that's the big difference. So throughout this video, we're going to cover, there are 9 exercises that we do to put you in a better position to be able to better control your bike and become a much better rider, controlling it at slow speeds. So when you're in a car park or you're in a busy area or going through traffic, all those things that come along in the normal world outside of being on what you call a concourse here, a car park, we call it a concourse. All right, outside of here where you learn, you can fall off and do things in here, that's okay. But out in the real world, all those distractions come at you. People walking across, a dog coming out, a kid's ball, cars coming across. Tight spaces where you're parked in and other bikes come around and park around you and you can't seemingly get it out because you don't know how to control your bike at slow speeds. Well, this will take care of those problems and they will no longer be a problem, all right? I can guarantee you that. And it'll make you a much safer rider and a much more confident rider, and you will actually enjoy more riding your bike because you can do so much more when you're at slow speeds. Okay. So there are 3 basic things on your bike that will help you control your bike at slow speeds. And they are the clutch, the throttle, and the foot brake. The front brake, first no-no at slow speeds. And we're talking that front brake should never be used for anything less than about 20 kilometers an hour. Anything less than that, it should only be the rear brake that you use, because that front brake is a very strong, very powerful brake on your bikes, and that will nosedive your bike down. All right, it's designed to pull you up very quickly. That is your main stopping power. So at slow speeds, do not touch that front brake. Okay, no need to. Just use the rear brake to control your bike during the speeds. I mean, there's an exception to the rule to everything, like everything out there, with the use of that front brake. But a general rule for maneuvering at slow speeds, do not touch the front brake. Okay, the use of those items. There are 5 steps that we take prior to moving the bike forward at any time at slow speeds. First one, well, the bike's turned on and running, that's a given. First step is we make sure the bike's in gear. Second step is we cover our rear brake with our foot. So we don't put the foot on and push the brake down, we just simply sit the foot over the top of the brake pedal. And the reason for that is it's sitting there, it's ready for when we do need to use it. We don't have to go and find the brake pedal when we decide we need to use it and take that time looking for it, basically. Even though it's only a few seconds, it's sitting there. We can then very gently apply the brake to slow us down or release the brake to let us speed up. The second is the throttle. We need to have the bike above idle speed. If you're at idle speed doing slow speeds, you're pretty much going to end up stalling and the bike tipping one way or the other. So the throttle, we preload the throttle. That is, we take it just above the idle speed. And on this big beast of mine, this 2014 Harley Davidson, I take to about 2,000 RPMs. So you look at it, get it 2,000 RPMs, listen to what that sounds like. Then don't look at the dash again, because your eyes need to be looking where you're going. So you get that sound, you get used to that sound, and that's where you hold it. So now there's no longer any need to go looking for power. You just hold it there, because that's all you're going to need. Okay. Third one is the friction zone. Okay, hence why I call this the friction zone video. The friction zone. This is what controls the power going to the rear wheel. Through the friction zone, you'll control the amount of sufficient power needed to the rear wheel. You can have this thing redlining, but if you've only letting this go into, say, stage 1, we'll go for that in a minute, of your friction zone, and then that is all the power, that's it, that's going to come from that roaring engine. So once again, about 2,000 RPMs, that's all you need, thereabouts, and we control it with the friction zone, the clutch. Once we go into friction zone 1, where the bike starts to move forward, as soon as the bike starts to move forward, we lift our left foot up now onto the foot peg or the board, depending on what sort of a bike you're riding. So now you've got both feet off the ground, because remember the right one was covering the rear brake. We were up above idle. We go into friction zone, we're going into friction zone 1, the bike starts to move, we bring our left foot up. Now there's no feet or any need whilst you're moving for any feet to go back down onto the ground. If while you're moving at that slow speed you feel like the bike's going to tip slightly, you go into what we call friction zone 2 for a second, and then back to friction zone 1. So you're going along, you're moving, the bike's wobbling slowly because you're going slow, the bike's going to wobble, and you feel, oh crap, it's going to fall. It's just 2-1. All right, so I'll do it slowly, let the clutch out to 2, and then back to 1. You've got to come back to 1 because you need to maintain that momentum on the rear wheel. So you don't pull it back to 0. Don't ever come back to 0 unless you've eventually stopped, all right? Because that's what's going to happen. There's going to be nothing going to the rear wheel. So that's very important. So what I'll do now is demonstrate to you the use of the brake, the throttle, and the friction zone. Actually, before I do that, the friction zone. There are basically what I call 4 stages to the friction zone. Right back against the grip here, right, that's not a zone, but that's 0, right? There's 0 power going to the rear. You totally disengage the clutch, so there's no power coming from the engine going to the rear wheel. What we then do is we come forward to that's what I call sweet spot. And that's the spot where and on this mine, because it's a hydraulic clutch on this Harley Davidson, it's a fair way out. Yours, if you've got a cable clutch, or depending on your bike, you'll find where that is. So you go forward to just where the clutch starts to move the bike forward, then you come back just before that, just before it. That's what we call the sweet spot. The spot just before the bike is engaged and starts to move. Then we move into friction zone 1, which is that spot where the bike is now moving, and we hold it there. We hold our RPMs at 2,000, we hold that in friction zone 1, and the bike is able to go forward. And we don't let it go any further forward any deeper into the friction zone. Because the more you go forward, the more power you're going to allow to go to the rear wheel, and it's going to make it very hard to turn, because with the bike, it's very hard to turn the bars at slow speed. And what we're going to be doing here is a lot of handlebar turning, right? People on bikes do not like to turn handlebars. A lot of people, it's taboo. You don't turn bars on bikes. You lean a bike. You do lean a bike at high speeds, but at slow speeds, there's a lot of handlebar turning as well as leaning, okay? And counterbalancing while you're leaning, because you're at slow speeds. That's very important as well. So what we'll do now is we'll demonstrate just going into the friction zone 1 and moving forward. Even though I'm in a car park, safety first, always put your helmet on. I do, even though it's not a public area, okay, it's private property. Better safe than sorry, as they say. Okay, I'll move the bike around so I'm coming toward the camera. Okay, so we're in gear. Right foot covering the rear brake. Throttle, preload, keep it loaded. Friction zone 1, foot up when the bike starts to move. I'll just do a sharp turn here because I can. Smooth stop. We're going to stop shortly. Okay, so as I said, we're going to go right foot covering the rear brake. That's all it is covering. Our right hand. We bring it up to about 2,000 RPMs. Head and eyes direct to the front in the direction we're going. Straight to the front, chin up. Helps you keep your eyes, head and eyes up. Release it into forward. So here, I'll just show you. Bike starts to move, so I pull it back slightly. Now it's back slightly. I rev it, nothing happens because I'm just before friction zone 1. I then go into friction zone 1, bike starts to move, foot up. Friction brake, friction brake, friction brake, smooth stop. Okay, as you saw, the bars start to wobble. And that's because you're going slow. You've got enough momentum to get the bike forward. It will stay upright, okay, but just not enough to give it that drive so that the front wheel will stay stable. So you just correct that, and that's what you do, slight corrections. If at any stage during that forward movement you feel the bike is going to drop, to get that oh crap feeling, all right, all you do is from friction zone 1, you go 2-1. And when you do that, just quickly, that puts quick power to the rear wheel, which if the bike starts to drop, it'll pull it back up just quickly. And it's very minute, but you've got to do it as soon as you feel it, that oh crap moment, as soon as, not later on. Because if you do, then it goes even further, okay? And you can't correct it. Same process, but you've got to know what you're doing and be a little bit more trained at it. So as you go through this and you've practiced it, you'll know what I mean. Okay, so we'll do that now. In gear, covering the rear brake, preload, friction zone 1, foot up. Nice sharp little turn, because I can. Smooth stop. Okay, so when I say smooth stop, we'll go into those later, but when you're going forward, I'll just do that now. When you're going forward and you're going to stop, you stay in friction zone 1, you maintain your RPMs, you use the brake to stop the bike. But as the bike goes to stop, because you need a foot on the ground, the left foot at the same time as the bike stops, touches the ground, then and only then do you pull in back to 0 on your clutch. Foot up, friction brake, friction brake, friction brake, smooth stop. And you hear the bike rev up slightly, vroom. That's because I've stopped and then I pull it in. I'm maintaining my RPMs. So as I pull it in, obviously, it's going to go higher because that power that's not being taken to the rear wheel is back in the engine. Okay, so that's the use of the clutch, brake and accelerator. So as I said, the 5 steps. First thing is make sure it's in gear. Second step, foot covering the rear brake. Third step, preload, 2,000 RPMs thereabouts. Fourth step, friction zone, come to the sweet spot, and then when you're going to go forward into friction zone 1, once you're into friction zone 1 and you're moving forward, then your left foot comes up. Okay, and whilst you're moving, there's no need to have your feet on the ground. So when you're going forward, like I said, and if you feel like the bike's going to have that crap movement, just quick 2-1, just to pull the bike back up. Okay, I'll do that, and I'll do that 2-1-1 so you can see. In gear, covering the rear brake, preload, foot up. Okay, I'm coming along, I'm enjoying myself. I'll go into right, oh, I feel like what's going to go. There we go, see it? So there you see, you would have seen it jerk forward. Okay, that's 2-1, all right, very quick. That'll bring the bike back up. Don't need to stay in that zone because otherwise it'll just keep going forward, all right? If you're in a turn and you're trying to turn, you do it, it'll just take you off in the other direction of what the wheel's facing in. So it's just a very quick 2-1, just to pull you back up. Okay, so we keep reiterating, but like I said, 5 stages. First stage, in gear. Second stage, covering the rear brake. Third stage, load, preload and keep it loaded. Fourth stage, friction zone 1. And then the 5th item, once you go moving forward, you raise your left foot. Okay, so like I say, the friction zone, right back is on to 0. 1 is slightly in, 2 is just slightly further forward. That, as you saw demonstrated there, just to give that little bit extra power. Okay, and you can be in friction zone 2 doing a lot of the maneuvers where where you're using the rear brake on some very tight turns. You need that bit more pulling power and the drive force from the motor. Friction zone 3 is almost out to full extent. Okay, and then 4, it's fully opened and you're off and going. All right, so the 4 stages, that's not a real thing. That's the way I put it, so you can sort of understand it. 1 is in the friction zone. 2 is slightly forward to get you out of trouble. 3, you're almost fully open, and then 4, yep, the hands off it and you're fully open. 4 stages. Okay, the biggest thing to remember on these initial parts is whilst ever you're providing sufficient power, and the word there is sufficient power to the rear wheel, so not overpowering it or underpowering it, but sufficient power, your motorcycle will stay upright and go straight because that's what it's designed to do. Okay, your rear brake is your best friend when you're doing the maneuvers, okay? Your rear brake gives you control and correction. So if you need to speed up or slow down because you're just resting over the top, that's all you do. Slight pressure, very slight pressure, because everything we do in slow speed riding is slow, smooth and controlled. It has to be. All right, no hard braking, dive in the front end, okay? Harsh release of the clutch, to pulling it out excessively, or even over revving. Everything is done controlled. And your rear brake gives you that control and correction. So that's what the rear brake gives you, control and correction. It allows you to speed up or slow down so you can adjust your turning depending on what you're doing at the time. Control and correction, that's what that gives you. Sufficient power to the rear wheel, the bike will stay upright and go straight. That's what sufficient power gives you, upright and straight. No problems there. If you're upright and straight and you've got control and correction over your brake, you've got your engine above the idle so it's not going to stall. You're controlling the friction zone 1. Then you've got all those things set up to go forward, which is the next part of this video, to go into the 9 exercises. Now some people say, wait Greg, come on mate, can't you just show us how to do a bloody U-turn? I mean, it can't be that hard. It's not that hard, but the old saying, you've got to be able to crawl before you can walk. The exercises are designed to build you up to the U-turn. And we'll show you that by I'll take you through the exercises. I'll ride through each one of them quickly to show you what they are, and you'll see how they interlink and build you up towards that. I know that when I first started, if I was to try and do a U-turn, 2 things would have happened. 1, I wouldn't have been able to do a U-turn in anything less than probably about 30 or 40 feet for sure, because it'd be half as wide as this car park trying to do a U-turn for me. And 2, if I tried to do a tight U-turn, definitely would have dropped the bike. Definitely would have dropped it. all right, because I wouldn't have known how to properly control the brake, the accelerator and the clutch using those items to control them at the different times. And the exercise that we're going to do, the first one is a stop and start. All right, just a simple stop and start. You'll take off, when I say stop and start, you'll take off in friction zone 1 using your rear brake. You'll go 15 metres to a cone and you'll keep it upright while you get there, and then you'll give a nice, smooth, controlled stop at the end. Like I said, a controlled stop at the end, that's where we friction brake, friction brake, friction brake. And what I'm saying there is maintain your friction zone. Keep your foot over the rear brake, friction brake, friction brake, friction brake. And when you see the cone and you've got to stop, you give it slight pressure. Once you've stopped, your foot touches the ground, then you pull the clutch in. All right? And that's a smooth, controlled stop. Then once we've done that one, we'll do what we call a slow race. Not really a race, but what you do is someone walking beside you and you're not allowed to pass them. You can use your rear brake to stay behind them, staying in friction zone 1 and going into 2 when you need to, because you're continually going now. You're not start, stopping, start, stopping. We'll do that for a few times to get used to that. And then the next one is just continually going, but at a slow speed. So you're controlling them on the move. Yep, controlling them on the move. Next one we'll do is what they call trust and believe. Because as long as you trust and believe that provided you provide sufficient power to the rear wheel, the bike will not tip over. And all that one is, it's the same as the start, take off for the stop start one, with the exception, we come to the sweet spot. And then what I'll do is I'll tell you, you'll have your foot over the rear brake, you'll have your throttle above the speed, so you're loaded, and you keep it loaded in the sweet spot. And at that point, you're ready to go. I'll say foot up, you'll then lift your foot up onto the peg, and as soon as the bike starts to tip, or you get that feeling, before that even, you get the feeling that it's going to tip, you go 2-1, okay? And that takes you off. And what will happen then is your bars may be slightly left or right. When you take off, that's the direction it's going to take off in. So you might not necessarily go straight, it'll go slightly to the left or to the right, or it could go straight. All right, the idea of that one is to stop you, reprogram your memory, because at the moment, I can guarantee you, if the bike is going to tip, tip over, all right, and you're going, oh crap, it's going to fall, you'll do that, okay? Oh, it's going to fall, and your leg will go down. Well, what we're going to program you to do is to replace that, oh crap, it's falling, I'm putting my leg down, with, oh crap, 2-1, oh crap, 2-1, and that will straighten the bike up. Putting your foot down won't straighten your bike up, ladies and gentlemen. Putting your foot down invites ouch time if the bike does drop. These things, you know, just under 400 kilograms, they're not very friendly when they want to go to drop. But all you need to do to keep it upright, and that's what will keep it upright, is 2-1. It'll keep it upright. No need to put your feet down. All right, feet down's not going to fix the problem. It's just going to, well, hopefully you won't hurt yourself, but a good chance you could hurt yourself. Okay, and it doesn't fix up what's happening, and that is insufficient power to the rear wheel. Because like we kept saying, provided you got to trust and believe that provided you provide sufficient power to the rear wheel, the bike will not fall over. So we'll do that during that exercise. Once we've done that, and you're getting used to that, and you're now starting to use the 2-1 instead of throwing the foot down a bit, and you're starting to become a bit more confident that, yep, hey, I can see this, it does stay upright. I don't need to throw my foot out. Then what we'll do is we'll go into left and right turns from the stop, and on the roll first, left and right turn in a tight space on the roll, and then we'll stop. We'll do a sharp left turn, sharp right turn from being stopped. And once you've done those, so now and they're done, so your bike is upright. There's no leaning in any of this, so start and stops, they're all upright. Left turn and right turn, whether you're rolling through or we're stopping and turning left and right, they're all upright. And this is about controlling the bike, maintaining that control and the posture, getting your posture used to controlling and where you should sit. So once we've done that, and you now got those controls in place, then we'll do the single serpentine. The single serpentine, that's weaving in and out of cones. And what that does now, that introduces lean, because from that point on, everything you do is going to have leaning involved. Okay, so you'll go through 15-foot cones. You go in and out, and we'll go through the technique of that, through those, turning the bars and leaning, turning the bars and leaning, and that's what that's about. Turning these bars on these big bikes, okay? And it's awesome fun doing it. Once you start doing it and you get used to it, you're going to go, wow, this is actually fun. Why haven't I done this years ago? This is great fun. And I do. I come down here nearly every day. If it's sunny for me, I'm retired, I'll get down here nearly every day to keep practicing, keep trying to get better. I don't want to be a professional slow race rider or anything like that. I just want to be very, very proficient and very confident in everything I do at slow speed movement. And that's why I've decided to do this. There's some videos from the USA and other bits and pieces around, but I thought, you know what, I'll do something locally, something for here in Oz, in our conditions, you know, for us, speaking our lingo if you like, to try and simplify it and put it across so that you can enjoy your bike as much as I enjoy mine, and we both become safer riders on the road. I guarantee you, when you start doing this, people will be looking at you. When you're going through traffic or turning in tight spaces, both your feet are up on the boards or on their pegs, and you're maneuvering your bike at slow speeds, and they go, holy crap, how's this guy doing this? How good does that look? Trust me, it'll happen. And people will come up to you and go, hey, did you learn to do that? And you go, oh, it's just natural, man. But yeah, anybody can do it, just got to practice it. And that's the big thing. You can watch this video, watch it over and over and over, and do that. To look at everything. I've watched over 100 hours of videos, same videos, just to get different points. And every time I've gone back to them, I've picked stuff up. And I'm going to be doing this with other people. So I'll be videoing other people doing it, so you can see how other people do it as well. And you can see what corrections we make with them. And then you keep watching those over and over. And I guarantee you, every time you look at it, you'll pick up, I'll try that tomorrow. I'll try that. Oh, that guy did that. That looks pretty cool. Okay, and that's what I did. It took me quite a while to realise about counterbalancing exactly what it is. So while I'm sitting here, see the bike's on a lean. So we'll just assume that I'm going to be turning that way at slow speed. And you'll see these when we do the videos, but while we're sitting here, it makes it a bit easier because standing still is easy to talk to. So what we do here, instead of sitting right in the middle of the seat, if I sit with the bike and stay in line with the bike, as you can see, I'm at a slight angle. So that means I'm going to lean with the bike. So I'm adding to the bike going that way. Now, unless I'm at a decent speed, that will make the bike, that gravity force will pick up, and you need to have more speed so to keep the bike upright. So what you do at slow speeds is place your bum to the slight right side of the seat, yourself upright, come up close to the tank. So come up close to your tank, chest upright, and your bum over to the right side, and that's counterbalancing. Now you look at me, and the bike's lean, and I'm upright, okay, and I'm looking in the direction I'm going. And when you do that, you will feel the difference, the massive difference, how much it will make you feel in control of the bike, and more comfortable that, hey, I don't feel like I'm tipping. All right, it takes that tipping feeling away, and then allows you to concentrate more on the actual turn. And then you do the reverse, obviously going the other way. If you're going to the right, you lean your bum over to the left. If you're going to the left, you lean your bum to the right. So that way you're counterbalancing, and counterbalancing is very important, okay, for doing the maneuvers. Once we've done the single serpentine, we'll then go into what we call the infamous U-turn. U-turns. Everybody wants to do a U-turn. So now we know the basics, and we're building up to that. The U-turn. When we come into the U-turn, it's the same as doing the single serpentine, with the exception now we're leaning in and out, going in and out of the cones. On the U-turn, we come up, we simply continue that on and continue around. So instead of going out of the cone, into the cone, we just continue on to come back around. So we use the same process, except continue it on to do the U-turn. So we'll come into that. With the U-turns, most of the roads are about 24 feet wide out there in the wheel world, okay? So you don't need to do a U-turn anything less than 24 feet wide. So basically just under 3 car spaces is 24 feet, and you'll see that. I've been practicing to get them down to 18 feet. Why? Simply because I want to, all right? It just enhances my skill. Do you need to do 18-foot U-turns? No, not necessarily. There are some roads out there that are only about 18 foot wide. Some of them on the country roads, you've seen them, they can be quite narrow, little goat tracks almost. But at some stage, you'll get to a point of a road where it's just not wide enough to do the U-turn on because it is so, even maybe only 16 foot or something. But that's okay, you do what you can do, and if you need to stop, push it back and go forward, you do that. But you do what you can do within your abilities. So if you can comfortably do a 24-foot U-turn, which is only 2.5 car spaces, and that's pretty comfortable, then happy days, you've won. Give yourself a big tick in the box. That's all you need to do. But if you want to keep practicing and keep reducing that and bring it down as tight as you want, happy days, that's what you go to do to achieve your specific goals. From the U-turn, we'll then go to the next exercise, which is the figure 8. So if you can do a U-turn, then we can go into the figure 8s, which is 3 concentric circles. And what you'll do is you'll come into the first, we'll go 24 foot, 22 foot, 20 foot circle. You can make them as small as you like. Okay, once again, as you progress, as you get better at it, you can bring the circles down smaller. And all we do is we come in, we go around the circle, into the next circle around, into the top circle around, and then come back down. Okay, that's the abominable snowman circles. And then we'll do the figure 8. Figure 8 is just a big box. We'll start off, but it's basically like doing 2 24-foot U-turns. Okay, so it's the same size. So we'll come in, and that's pretty much what it is, except in a circle form. Big box set up, you'll come in, you'll go around, come back, go around, figure 8, and then back out. Okay. And then the last one is the offset serpentine. Okay, offset serpentine, double serpentine, where you'll have 2 lines of cones offset, and you'll come in, go around that, and you'll come through like a zigzagging through. And we'll go through those and you'll see those in more detail. And once again, it's turning and leaning, and a little bit more advanced doing that. Okay, a little bit more skill needed. And that's why as you go along for each of these exercises, one builds to do the next, so you can do them. And all you'll do is go through and do to what you can do. Because if you can't do a 24-foot U-turn, then there's no point in going into and doing the figure 8, because it's basically like doing U-turns. If you can't do the U-turn properly, you need to get that down, then you can move to the next. So each step is depending on your ability. There's no race in any of this. Take your time, whether it takes you a day, a month, a year, it doesn't matter. Do it to your abilities. Don't get frustrated with it. Keep up with it. I come down here. I've dropped this bike 4 times in the last 12 months practicing. Practice makes perfect, as they say. Practice equals retention. The more you practice, the more you retain the knowledge, okay? And your muscle memory will remember what you're doing. I no longer touch that front brake. I've got to remember sometimes ISPs to pull it on, all right? Because I'm so used to now not using it. I don't use that at all. I say to myself, I find myself when I'm going to a set of lights and I'm slowing down, I just don't rush up to the set of lights. I use it every day. Every day I go towards if they're red, I'll slow right down and see if I can do a slow ride to the red lights, how long I can keep it up for. And you get to the light and it's still red, that's fine. Friction brake, smooth stop. Leave it in gear, hold the clutch in, sit there and wait until they change. And why do I do that? If somebody comes tearing up behind me and I see this guy's not going to stop, I'm in gear, I've got my hand on the friction brake, my foot's resting over the brake, I can quickly take off, left or right or whichever, to avoid something happening, because I have those tools, I know what I can do. That's what I do now. Okay, so without further ado, what we'll do now is we'll go into each of the exercises and we'll explain each of the exercises. Okay, so as we said, the first exercise is to stop and start. Each cone is 15 feet apart, 4.5 metres. We'll go from cone to cone, and the idea is, as we said, in gear, covering the rear brake, loaded, keep it loaded, the throttle, friction zone 1. Start to move forward, left foot comes up. All right, we control it, we're going to be wobbling, you'll see that. We control that with the rear brake to speed up or slow down. If we feel that oh crap moment, just a quick 2-1, right, it's the 2-1, just to bring it back straight. And then we'll come down and we'll do that through each cone. I'll just demonstrate that for you. In gear, foot over the rear brake, preload, foot up. Stop, always a smooth stop. Okay, and we're doing one of each cone. Let's go that again. Each cone we want a smooth stop. So as your rear wheel comes near the cone, you know that's where you've got to stop. Remember, no front brake, don't touch it. And I'll see that we'll notice that. I always notice that with people because the front will dip in, and you can see straight away they're using the front brake. As soon as you get near the cone, you know this is my stop point. Ease on the rear brake. As soon as the bike stops, touch the wheel on the ground, then pull the clutch into 0. Okay. In gear, put over the rear brake. Load, keep it loaded. Head nice, straight to the front. Always looking direct to the front. In this case, at my camera. Friction zone. Moving forward, foot up. Friction zone, friction brake, friction brake, friction brake. Smooth stop. Now again, you hear the engine rev up. As I stop, it's because my foot's down. Then I pull the clutch in. And that sends the revs a little bit higher because you're holding your throttle into one spot. And that way, listening to that, if you hear that, you know, yes, I'm holding my throttle. How good's that? Because you need to keep that there. You do the same again. Cover the rear brake. Preload, friction zone, foot up, friction brake, friction brake, friction brake, smooth stop. Once again, we're still staying inside these guidelines, so that's great. And we continue that on. In gear, cover the rear brake, preload, friction zone, foot up, smooth stop. Say smooth stop, the foot comes down nice and gently, not like this or back here or out there, okay? It comes down and it's nice and gentle, smooth stop, because that means you've got a control stop, you're controlling your stops. Do it again, head nice to the front, covering the rear brake, in gear, covering rear brake, preload, keep it loaded, friction zone, foot up, smooth stop, and down, look at that, beautiful. That's what you need to practice. Okay, so you do that until you can get those smooth stops happening as well. So like me, unless you've got somebody out there that can be with you to talk you through it and tell you what you're doing and not doing right, you've just got to concentrate on each aspect. Okay, don't get frustrated, keep at it, keep it going, and you will get there. Okay, this next exercise, that was stops and starts. Okay, smooth, all right, smooth takeoffs and smooth stops and starts. The next one we're going to do now is the slow race. I'll go as slow as I possibly can, and I'll incorporate this the 2-1. Okay, remember, if we're going and we feel that oh crap, like it's going to tip, 2-1, very quickly, 2-1. Right, exactly as you say, 2-1. Not 2-1 and you're going hooting down the road, because that's what will happen. It's very quick, 2-1, just enough to bring it back up. And they're only minor movements, and you should only just notice it. Sometimes not even see it unless I play it back in slow motion, which we'll do. You'll see that very slight movement. That means I went 2-1 because it was starting to go a bit off. Okay, I even did it coming down on a couple of these ones. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'll go from the top down to below, and you'll see just how slow I can get it to go. Using the brake, maintaining that throttle, just put the preload there and hold it. Don't even have to think about it ever again while you're doing this movement. Clutch, in friction zone 1, that's it, done. Use your brake to slow down or let it off to speed up, but do it gently, so you're not jerking up and down. Okay, and we'll talk through that as I go through, and I'll give you some demonstrations of how it jerks and how it doesn't jerk, etc. Because that's important. All right? People need to understand that to be able to maintain better control of the bike. Because sudden, sharp, harsh movements aren't going to do you any favours when you're in tight turning situations. It's just going to add to your complexity. That's a big word, complexity. Okay, in gear, coming to rear brake, preload, friction zone, foot up. Bring this big bugger around, nice and sharp, as I can. Fix the brake, fix the brake, fix the brake, fix the brake, straighten, smooth stop. Once again, that's the other thing. Make sure your bike is straight before you stop. You don't want to stop with your bars turned because that can cause a dropping problem as well, and it's much harder. Okay, always straight at the front. So in gear, foot covering the rear brake. Rear brake is your friend, especially in this exercise. Preload, keep it loaded. Head and eyes direct to the front. Fix it down, foot up. Maintaining the throttle. Little thing, I give it a little bit more, a little bit more. And smooth stop. Okay. Oh, look at that. So what we don't want is feet going out because you feel that oh crap. 2-1 if you feel that oh crap moment. 2-1. They'll just do the more for you than your foot going out will do. All right, foot going out is inviting danger and heartache to your foot. 2-1 will keep the bike up and have it doing what you want it to do. Okay. What we'll do now is trust and believe. All right, trust and believe. Trust and believe that provided you provide sufficient power to the rear wheel, your bike will not fall over. Okay? So with this one, what we're going to do will be similar to what we've just done, except, as I explained earlier on, in gear, foot covering the rear brake, preload, keep it loaded, clutch at the sweet spot, just before the friction zone. Okay, then I'll say to myself, foot up. And I don't wait or anything, I just foot up. And as soon as the foot comes up, once the foot's up and on the bike, only after it's up and on the bike, when you feel, as soon as you feel that feeling at all, 2-1. So that takes you off, straightens you up, and you're back on track to move forward. Okay, as soon as. If you don't do it as soon as and you wait longer and you're still falling, it's just going to continue to go. And you can still correct it, but you've just got to be quick with it. Okay, so what this is about is when it goes to fall, instead of the foot going down, that's your reaction. Not, oh crap, it's going to fall, I'm going to stick my foot out. Your reaction is 2-1, 2-1. Okay, then you practice that a lot. And this is a very important exercise. I go, oh, it's a boring exercise. No, I don't do that. Yeah, 2-1, that's boring. It's amazing how important it is to have that in your muscle memory when you go further up into these exercises, because that will come into play. And if you're having trouble further up, normally you'll say, go back to exercise 1, 2, and 3, no matter how boring they see, and do them over and over. So when you come back to the next stage, you'll go, it does feel better. Happens to a lot of people all the time. All right, I'll just fix up this cone and then we'll do the exercise. Sorry, cone. in gear. Come in the rear brake. Reload. Friction zone. Foot up. Friction zone, friction brake, friction brake, friction brake. Smooth stop. Okay, we're in gear. Covering the rear brake. Preloaded. Now, as I said, I'll say up, I'll raise my foot, and as soon as I feel it's going to tip one way or the other, as soon as I get that feeling that oh crap, I will then go 2-1. Put up. Smooth stop. We'll do that again. Put up. Okay. Now, sometimes the bike will go off to the left or the right, or sometimes like me, straight. Just depends on your level of how well you can control it. But don't worry if it starts to go off, because as soon as you go 2-1, if it starts to fall, if it goes 2-1, that's why you go 2 to give you that power, then 1, then you can pull it back to where you want it to go. If you stayed in 2, it'll just continue on that direction it's pointing at. But if you come back to the 1, then it allows you to be able to maneuver the bars. Because like I said, the more power you have to the rear wheel, the harder it is to turn the bars. And that's why we got to introduce leaning. But when you want to just take off and just dropping, you don't want any more lean, no, you want to bring it back upright. So it's 2-1, okay, very important, 2-1. Okay, now we come on to the next exercise, exercise 4. We've gone through stops and starts, gone through the slow race, and we've gone through trust and believe. The very basics of what we need to do to try and control the bike coming into turning left and right on the rolling through and from a stop. So if this exercise, and one of the big ones for this exercise is if you're out there in the real world, in other words outside the car park, remember, if you're out there in the real world and you get muddy roads, loose gravel, sandy bits, all that sort of crap, you put any lean at all into your bike and you want to go into that, you know it's going to slip over. So with this exercise, there is no lean. The same as the first 3 exercises, there is no lean. It's straight up and down. So the objective of this is to come through to do left and right turns with the bike straight upright. No leaning at all. Because you can imagine, if you come into here and it's muddy, sloshy and gravelly and all that, and you lean the bike, what's going to happen? Hello? Slip and slide all day long. Okay. Same thing with this one. Same as with that, with all the exercises there, head and eyes to the front. With this one, as soon as you come up near the turn point, just prior to the turn point, you turn your head and eyes. Look in the direction you're going. In this case, if you're coming around to the left towards the camera, I would look at the camera. If I was going around to the right, I would look at the same height out there, direct to the right. Head and eyes up, and the head and eyes in the same direction. Very important, because for when you're starting off and you're learning, where your head and eyes go, that's where your bike will go. All right, if you're looking down at the cones and looking here down at the cone, guess where your concentration is and where you're going to go. You're going to go that way. All right, head and eyes always up. We'll keep saying it. A lot of this is repetitive, but we need to do it. Okay, head and eyes up in the direction that you're going to go. Okay. So once again, it's control of your clutch and your rear brake. Your throttle, preload, keep it loaded. Clutch into friction zone 1, using the brake now to slow you up or speed you down. Okay, remember, no turning, no counterbalancing this one. Bike stays upright, you stay upright with it. You turn the bars. All right, we're turning the bars here. That's all going, cones here blowing around in the wind. We're turning the bars is what we're doing. The bars come round, so head and eyes, then once you've done the head and eyes, then we turn the bars. Head and eyes always first. All right, the first thing we do is head and eyes whenever we're going to make a maneuver. I'm going left, head and eyes, turn the bars, okay? We turn the bars around to come round. So we'll go through that. And we control the speed with our rear brake. That's our friend. Friction zone 1. Throttle stays in the same spot. And we use the brake to go slow down or speed up. Yeah, a bit of wind blowing down here today, so my little witchy's hats aren't liking it too much. That's all right, we'll do what we can do. Okay, so the first one will be moving on the roll. So in gear, foot covering the rear brake. Preload, friction zone, foot up. Head nice to the left. And we bring it out. Bike upright, not leaning over. We go around to the right, same thing. Bring it up, head nice to the right, we're going right, head nice to the right. Friction zone, if I do this with the rear brake, I can keep going, I can pretty much stop, and then release it and continue on. Rear brake is your friend. Fear not with the rear brake. The rear brake is your friend, as we keep saying. So we'll do those once again. So now we'll do it from the stop now. Friction brake, smooth stop. Okay, like I said, nice in here, out to the front, not back here, or out there, okay, right beside you with the smooth stops. Okay, this time, we're up the front now, we're going to go left again. So the first thing we do, that's correct, head and eyes look to the left. I'm looking at the camera. Bring around, beautiful. We'll go around to the right. Same thing, nothing changes except rolling through just from the start. Friction brake, smooth stop. Okay, going to the right this time, head nice to the right. That's the direction I want to go. Your peripheral vision will pick up the cones. So don't panic over those. To the right, look up. And away we go. Nice and easy. Wheezy, as they say. Friction brake, smooth stop. Smooth stops every time just like that. Like I said, right beside you. Foot touches the ground, then we pull the clutch in. Not before, then. To say, I'll keep going over things as we go along because I need to try and get it through so it becomes into your memory and becomes muscle memory for you to help you out. So every time you look at these videos and you go over them, they're the bits that you can pick back up on. So with that one, always head and eyes the first thing. So head and eyes the direction you're going, then we turn the bars, okay? And keep looking. We maintain the friction zone, we maintain the throttle. They do not change. Your foot, the rear brake, is your best friend with these turns. That's what controls your speed up and down. That is it. And the bike stays upright, just as you saw just then. So that's your left and right turns on the roll and from the start. The next one we'll introduce now is the single serpentine, so we'll go over to that. Okay, now we're going to do the single serpentine. From the turns left and right, we know how to use our bars to move the bike to the left and or to the right, being upright. Now we go to the next stage of that, which is adding in a lean. So it's the first exercise where we commence the lean. and it's very important to lean into this and to counterbalance. Like I said earlier on, counterbalancing. Put our butts over to the right side if we're going left, put the butts over to the left side if we're going right. That helps you to maintain yourself upright and to counterbalance the bike at these slow speeds. With this exercise, the bike, these cones are 15 feet apart. The bike should be facing in this direction. There's the first cone when you're coming through, and you'll see it as I ride through. So we come through, close to this cone, and we come to this point here, we transition. So head and eyes are always straight to the front on this one, we transition. We're leaning the bike, okay, we're leaning. We come close now to this cone, leaning the bike, holding it. We then come to this point out here, we transition. Now we come back close to this cone. We bring the bike out. We bring the bike out. We come out to this point here and we transition. And we come back in close to this cone. And we go so on, so forth, all the way down the line. As you'll see, and I'll talk you through it, when you come out, keep the turns wide. All right, hold the turn. Holding the turn provides space and time. That is space and time to correct and to give you room for your next maneuver. So the longer you hold the turn, but not going all the way out, the better. So in this instance here, with these cones, when we're coming through, we're coming to about this crack here. There's a crack in the ground here, if you can see it or not. It's about where we come out to. Then we come back in, and the same distance on the other side. And you'll see that as I go through. So we're turning and we're leaning the bike. All right, turning and leaning the bike. Not so much the body with the bike going in the same direction, but turning and leaning the bike. And we do that, I counterbalance and I push the bike down. Okay, so counterbalance, pushing it down. And that takes a bit of getting used to. Let's do that. Push the brake, push the brakes, we'll stop. Like I said, on the first approach, this is the angle that you want to come in on, okay? This angle, to take you out to that seam in the ground, so you can come back close as possible to the second cone. Come out the same distance, come back close as possible to the third cone, and so on. Turning and leaning, transitioning, all right? Call it transitioning, turning and leaning. Transition, transition. Okay, let's go through that. Maintaining your preload and friction zone 1 and using the rear brake. In gear, coming to rear brake, preload, friction zone, put up. Transitioning, transition, transition, transition. Bring it back around again. Head nice, straight to camera. Hello camera. Transitioning the whole time. Transition, transition, transition. Come back the other way now. Head nice to front. Bike in. Hello camera. Dip it in. Dip it in. Dip it in. Push your brakes, move, stop. So as you can see there, I went a couple of times wider so you can see how it gives you space to come back in. Because if you go too wide and turn too late, you'll end up closer to the forward cone. And then by the time you get to the end, you've got to try and squeeze that in and try and make it up. So by providing that turning space, holding the turns provide you time and space to react back in. Okay, very important. So this one is just about transitioning and leaning the bike slightly. All right, don't have to overlean, just transition and a slight lean of the bike. We'll introduce our leaning until it becomes smoothly. I'll just go through that once more again without using my rear brake, which is what I usually do for this exercise. Coming too low on that one, oh crap, so I go wider to give me time to correct. And now I've corrected and I can continue back on. So go friction brake, friction brake, friction brake, straight bars. So by doing that, it gives you time to correct. Okay, if you lose it, you went too wide or you turn too late and you're near that front cone, how am I going to get around the next one? Go slightly wider and then bring it back in. And then that'll help you correct. It'll slow your bike down as well by using wider turns and it gives you time to correct. So hold the turn. Go a bit wider and hold the turn. Okay, so that is a really, really good exercise. Use a lot of that before we go into the next ones, which is the infamous U-turns. That is the exercise that will set you up for the infamous U-turn because it'll get you used to that leaning and transitioning. Okay, because in the U-turn, you're going to have to turn the bars quite a bit and then lean and a lot of counterbalance, which we'll go on to next. Okay, the infamous U-turn. So I've set up here, it's approximately 20-foot U-turn. Just so I can nice and easily show you and bring it around. Like I said, 24 feet is the smallest you probably need to try and train yourself towards. But a lot of training, they'll take them out to 3 spaces, full 27 foot. I'll just use this. But if we're bringing someone down for the day to train them, I would have this out of 3 full car spaces, 27 feet, to start people off getting used to turning. Because a lot of people can't do even 3 spaces, they can't even do 4, some even 5, seriously. And it's not because they're bad or they don't know what they're doing, no. It's because they haven't learned how to control their bike at slow speeds until this point. So once you get those, you can then slowly bring it back in. So you do it to your ability. If it takes you 6 spaces, it takes you 6 spaces. But hey, you've done a U-turn, didn't you? So that's fantastic, that's a tick. And now what we're going to do is work on those aspects that we need to look at, whether it's the way you're turning, counterbalancing, where your head and eyes are, etc., to bring that back in a little bit tighter. So that when you're in the real world and you understand the sort of 24-foot road and your wife says, "Bugger, I left my wallet at home." No worries, we'll just do a Yui and go back and get it. And how good would that be? Quick look in your mirror, head and eyes, nothing coming, no wrong going, straight around, happy days. All right, so what I'll do now is take you through it. I'll come in from the left first. The idea is come as close as possible to the cones, bringing the bike down. When I get to about here, my head and eyes will go back to the camera. I will then camera, turn and lean. Turning and leaning, using the whole space, turning and leaning to come all the way around, back up, nice and straight bars, and straight forward. Okay, so like I said, it's exactly the same on this side. I'll come down. I'll get to approximately this point here, head and eyes, and then turn. Using up all the space, come all the way around, back up and straight off. We'll do that. We'll go around each way once, I'll do that once. Then I'll do it where we come to a stop. And then we'll do it where we do a stop and start from inside it to do the U-turn. What that does, if you're on the road and you're rolling along, I've got to do a U-turn, you're rolling along, okay, and you do it on the roll, that shows you on the roll. But if you've had to pull up and now you want to go back the other way, you can do it from the start. Okay, let's do that. I'll just adjust this cone. The wind, as I said, was picking up and it's sort of shuffling my cones along a little bit. So I'll rob from Peter out here to pay Paul back here. How good's that? We can do that. Pushing the cones into my turning circle. Cheeky buggers. Whoopie doop. Alright. Let's do that. Pay particular attention as well to my counterbalancing. I found when I was doing these, when I initially started off, I wasn't told about and didn't realise about proper counterbalancing, and wondering why I was having trouble in tight spaces. And I come off a couple of times trying to work it out. And then I saw in the later videos of the same guy that was making them, he introduced talking about the counterbalance. And I thought, well, that would have been handy earlier on. So I'm making sure I keep saying it here for you, my viewers. All right, let's do it, viewers. In gear, cover the rear brake, preload, friction zone, put up. We'll go around to the left first. So I'm offset, head nice, put in the camera, and bring it around, nice and easy. We'll go around to the right now. I offset the other way. And nice at the camera. Bring around nice and easy. Even a broken clock is right twice a day, so let's give it another go. And nice. I know I'm not using up all the spaces because I can go tighter. So I'll put the cones there just for a reference point for my viewers. Okay, now we'll do it from within the zone. And that's just a matter of changing the bars. Nothing changes, okay? Smooth stop. Ah, yes. Okay, viewers. By starting here, nothing changes. It doesn't make it any scarier. In actual fact, it's probably a little bit easier. You can turn your bars before you start. So you turn the bars before you start because you reduce your space in front. You can see, it's just like it's the edge of a road up there and there's a couple of fences, all right? And you've got to get the bike around and you've got to turn around just a small space. Most people, they duck walk it around. Put both feet down, duck walking, push the bike around and try and wobble it around and do what they can do. But that's not us. We don't do that, do we? No. We slow ride. Same deal. Head nice to the camera. Right, head nice to the camera, so where we're going to go. Now we bring around nice and smooth. So nothing changes. Okay, so U-turns. Like I said, we start them off wider for when you first come down. That was just a little bit closer. The next exercise from that, because now we can do U-turns, and we keep doing that, excuse me, until we can do U-turns. Okay, viewers, the next one. What we've got here is the 22-foot figure 8 circuit, okay? It's quite big for me, but if I had someone down here practicing and for their first time, I'd probably take it out to probably a 27-footer and get them to use the entire space till they got used to it. And then you can always bring it in. When you see me doing it shortly, you'll probably notice I don't use all the space. It's just out of habit. It's just, I do it a bit tighter. But when you're starting off, it is important to use all the space because space gives you, using the space gives you time to also correct. And I'll talk you through that. So double cones at either end in the corner. So this corner here on the far right, they're entry and exit points for when we come in and out. So we're going to come in firstly through this way, going down that direction. So we bring the bike in, we come all the way down and bring it right over to this point about here. We want our front wheel about here, as close as possible near these cones. All right, we need this space. Okay, this is the space. From here, we're going to transition. In other words, we're going to turn and lean the bike. So it's a continuation from what we were doing earlier in the U-turn. We're going to turn and lean. Nothing changes. We're just simply going to come around and hold it. So when we come around, we transition. So we have our head and eyes going to the front initially. Then we head and eyes. We look back to where we came from as far as we can. So look back at that gate. And then we turn the bars. We come around, turning the bars, taking up all the space. Because if you don't, if you come out here and you don't use that there, you have to make it up down there, and that can be tight. So we use all the space transitioning. We're turning and leaning, turning and leaning, still turning and leaning. These double cones here, they are the transition points. So we're coming back, we're still leaning, we hold it, then we bring it up, then we head and eyes around to the right, looking back to that cones there as far as we can, and we transition once again. We turn the bars and we lean. Turn the bars and we lean, taking up all the space, using all the space. Coming round, head and eyes always going in advance of us. We're looking back this way now. Look over to the cones, coming round, coming round, coming round. We get to the transition point here again. Head and eyes looking around, bang, and we bring it back around. And we come round and around. That's if we're going twice. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in, we're going to come to the transition point, we're coming around. That's one circle. We're going to come back around here. That's two circles. Then we're going to come around here and we'll go back out the gate. Okay? And then when you get used to that, you can do it as many times as you like. So come in, we come up, we come around, we transition, we come around, we transition, and then we can head back out. Okay, we'll do that. But the head and eye placement is very important. Like I said, so when you're coming in, you're looking over that direction where you're going. Then turn your head and eyes to look back to here as far as you can. Look towards, back to here. Come around, see the transition point. When you get to there, you should be looking over at the second midpoint. Okay, looking there to where you're going. So your head and eyes basically where you're going to go, not where you are, or looking down at the cone and checking that cone out, looking out. If you look down here and you look at that cone, once again, that's where you will go. You will take your bike to where you're looking. Wherever your eyes are looking, that's where you'll go. So when you say head and eyes, turn the head and the eyes. So don't turn your head that way and have your eyes looking out there at a cone, because wherever you look, that's where you're going. Okay, so we keep reiterating these points. Because this is all about to try and make it easy for you. So when you're doing it, you remember, you're saying to yourself, head and eyes, head and eyes. I do it all the time. Okay, head and eyes. For this one, your wheel placement, right up as close as you can, hug the cones, come right up to the transition point. And when you transition, okay, don't do it slowly, transition, bring it around and hold it. Hold that turn the whole way around. Just like you did in the U-turn, but we continue on into a circle. Okay. Enough talk, time to ride. And with this one, I don't use the rear brake, but to start with, it's good for you. So we come in, wheel placement, head and eyes, turn the bars, I'll come out nice and slow for you. Transition, using up all the space, transition. At the same time, you might see there, I adjust the body. We're coming around. Transition. Head and eyes. And I'll go out the gate. And that's our ka-ching. Successful. Then we'll come around the other way. No different, nothing changes, just coming from another direction. Transition. 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 Out the gate. Ka-ching. Okay, so no matter which way you go, it's the same. The wheel placement is important. You can tighten it up as you go, but until you get used to it, you need to use all the space. Ka-ching. Okay, as I say, that's a pretty easy one for myself. I like to pull that into about a 20. I'll bring it down later on. I'll set up, I'll move my other cones because I don't have a lot. I will set up the next one, which is the Abominable Snowman. And we'll have a, I'll bring it back a bit, we'll have a 24, a 22 and a 20-foot circle. And we'll see how we go with that. Okay. Otherwise, as I say, main one's on that, wheel placement. Let's say when I've done that last one, I went a little bit faster just to show you. And yes, I wasn't using all the space because I can bring it in tighter. All right, that's why if I normally, this is a 24-footer. I'll normally set up either a 22 or a 20-footer to get me warmed up, and then I can try and bring it down. And that's all it's about. I come down this morning, I did a bit of the single serpentine exercise. That gets me into the groove of turning the bars and leaning, and just gets you into that groove, like a warm-up if you like, before I start doing the turns. Once I do that, I find doing that at the start puts me really good spot for doing my 18-foot U-turns, which I've done this morning, which you've seen, and for getting into the single serpentine. So this one, this is a 24-foot. I would normally bring this back now down to a 20-foot. Do that, then I come down to an 18-foot, okay, and that'd be as far as I go. I don't need to go any smaller than 18-foot. People out there want to do it. These beasts, they're designed so that scraping your floorboards and leaning as far as you can with where the floorboards are scraping in a continuous circle, these things will turn on a 16-foot radius, okay, 16-foot radius, that's what they'll turn on. If you just turn the bars and slightly leaning, you'll get 18 foot if you turn them right round and lean. So that's why you can do 18-foot U-turns. But who needs to do 16-foot turns? I'm not too sure. But it's a good skill to have, a very good skill to have, to say you can take the bike right over. And that's scraping. All that means is your board's scraping, that's your bike saying, hey, you've only got about 2 inches to go and you're maxed out. So that's your little warning order to say don't lean any further, which is a good thing. The good thing about the Harleys with the handlebars, the turning circle, probably one of the top bikes you can ever buy for the best turning circle. Sports bikes and all that, you're getting this, and that's what you're getting. Harley Davidsons, you got this, and that's why they are, the big bikes are the brilliant bikes for all these sort of sports. If you get into competition riding, it's all the big bikes, okay? Sports bikes can lean a long way, but these will get you around tighter spaces because you can actually turn the bars, all right? Turning is what gets tight spaces, leaning is just what gets you over. Okay, enough bagging out all the other bikes. Okay, so I've just reset for the 20-foot figure 8. So we'll do the 20-foot figure 8. I said the one before you saw was the 22-foot, this is a 20-foot. Doesn't sound like a major difference, but it is quite a bit when you're riding it. But you'll see how that goes. Like I said, nothing changes. Your wheel placement, your head and eyes, come round, your transition points in the center, depending on which way you're going. All right, the transition points, prior to transition points, we should be straight. The bike, that's the other thing I forgot to mention. When we come into the transition points, we're coming around. So we're coming around, we're coming around, we're coming around. There's a transition point. We make sure that the wheel is straight, not turned before we transition. Okay, the wheel is straight, then head and eyes transition. Okay, so make sure the wheel is straight, and you'll see that. To help with the transitions, what I do is just prior to the transition, I pull the clutch in, excuse me, I pulled the clutch in slightly just to take the pressure off the rear wheel to allow me to turn the bars. Because while that's driving forward, it's hard to turn the bars. So I just bring it back slightly to take it out of that drive and then turn it. I basically take it back to the sweet spot. Because you're just in the sweet spot, bang, back into one. And that's it. That's all it is. This is a couple of seconds whilst I turn the bars and then back into it so I can maintain the drive. So I stay upright because, what do we say? Provided you provide sufficient power to the rear wheel, your bike will be upright and go straight. All right, let's have a go at this one. The 20-foot figure eight. In gear, come to rear brake, foot up. So I can be offset when I come in. Head nice. Transition. 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 My car's a bit short there, so I've got to make it up over here, which I can do. If you don't use torque, you'll lose the spot and you'll go through the cones, which doesn't matter, there are only cones, yeah? Ka-ching. Come back the other way. Maintaining our throttle control, maintaining our friction zone one all the way, all day long. "20-foot circle. So as I say, there are any cones. If you're going to hit them, so what? They're just there to give you a guide. Sometimes you might just touch it, so you're still done really well. So yeah, so they're just a guide. So wheel placement, your head and eyes. I don't so much use my head and eyes a great deal anymore, still do, as I used to when I first started. Otherwise I was smashing cones to the crap and all over the shop. Head and eyes are very important when we're kicking off to take you in the direction you're going. And once you get into a rhythm and you know the pattern, your muscle memory kicks in and your subconscious is what tells you where you're going because it remembers what you've done. So, all right, your unconscious state will come forward and take over. Same when you're driving down the road and you go to work. And you go, I don't remember going over that bridge today. I don't remember passing that today. But you do, and you see it. But your subconscious, your unconscious mind knows the route, knows where you're going, pictures it, and takes you to it. Same here. Once you get that locked down and into your muscle memory and into a memory, that'll stay there. And then you'll be able to do it nice and easy. Okay, next one we're going to do, I'm going to go and set up now is for the abominable snowman. What I'll do is I'll set up a 22, a 20 and an 18-foot circle, all right? And we'll challenge ourselves and see how we go there. Okay, let's go. Okay, so now I've set up our 3 concentric circles for the abominable snowman. 22-foot circle, there's the center, 20-foot circle. There's the centre. And last but not least, the abominable 18-foot circle. Here's the centre. Okay, between each one of them, you've got double cones. That's the entry and exit points from each of these circles. This is no different to doing the figure 8, except we're going around a full circle, out into the next circle, and out into the next circle, and they get smaller and smaller. So anything that really changes here is the size of the circle. But what we do to get around each circle is exactly the same as in the figure 8. Head and eyes going forward in the direction we're going to go to, and wheel placement. Wheel placement is important. So when we come into this one, we'll come around to the right first. We'll come in, we'll come over to here, hug as close as possible to this cone, head and eyes, transition. And then we hug it. We hug the cones now we need to use all the space because we're getting a bit tighter. Okay, looking ahead, always looking ahead. See my head and eyes where they're going now. I've got my arm out, that's where my head and eyes are. Look where the bike is here, but I'm over there. Okay, head and eyes, head and eyes, head and eyes. And then I'm looking forward now, straight in front. I'm coming through, I get to here. I'm going to look over to here to that right hand point, head and eyes, and I'll get to here and return. Head and eyes, head and eyes. Eyes. Look where my arm is. That's where my head and eyes are. That's where my head and eyes are. Look where my arm is. Coming round, all the way around. Okay, all the way around. We transition back up. Bring it back up. Get to this point here. Bring the wheel right over. Head and eyes, transition. Head and eyes. Where are my head and eyes? Wherever my arm is. See my arm? It's my head and eyes. Head and eyes, head and eyes. Don't worry about that cone, that's all right. Head and eyes, looking at the exit there. Coming round, straightening up, bringing it out, and a big ka-ching. Okay, so head and eyes, always going forward. Okay, look in the direction that you're going to go. Let's say wheel placement. Bring your wheels right up to the cone. Use all of the space. All of the space. Maintaining the throttle, you put that there, you leave it there. You don't need to change it up and down. That's it, forget it. You've got your power. Your speed to the rear wheel is what we said through the clutch. Hit that friction zone 1 and that's where you go. Transitioning, pull it in slightly and back out, the friction zone 1, hold it all the way around. Then back in, transition, do it again. And just hold it, maintain it, and that's all you have to do. Use your foot brake to slow you down or speed you up if you feel you're going a bit fast or if you need more power. If you get that oh crap moment, like it's going to drip, remember 2-1. That's it, 2-1. Big, it's quick 2-1. You've got this held. All right, so no need to panic over that. No feet down. The idea of this is not how fast you can get through, but using the techniques and feet not going on the ground. Use that 2-1 instead of putting the foot down. Use the clutch to correct it. All right, correction is the key. Correct what doesn't feel right with the clutch, not your foot. Get that muscle memory in. That should be happening a lot by now. Okay, let's go and do that. And just by the by for this video. So this is the first time I've done the abominable snowman. So we'll go and see how we go together. But all I'm going to do is employ those techniques. Nothing changes from the U-turns. Nothing changes from the figure 8. Just gets tighter and tighter. And when you're doing this, if you struggle doing the first one, the 22-foot one, then stay within your lane, okay? So if you struggle to get around this one, stay in that lane. No point going up into the other one because you're not going to do it. Stay in that lane until you're comfortable with that. And once you're comfortable with that, then you can extend out to the next one and so on. And or start them off bigger. Start a 27-foot circle, then a 24, and then a 20, and then a 22. Whatever you like. But don't go any bigger than 27, all right? Try and keep within 27 feet when in turns that you do, and then work it down from there. Because remember, the roadways are mostly about 24 foot wide, so for U-turns, that's all you need. So let's not go any greater than that. Try and keep 24 foot to be better, as the biggest circle or turn that you want to practice. But once again, that's up to yourself. No pressure, never is. Okay, so set up now for the double offset serpentine. So the idea of this one, it's like the single serpentine, except we have two of them and they're offset by 15 feet. So set the cones 15 foot up, and so on. So they're offset, being the word double offset. So what we do with this one, no different really. All the techniques we use for the single serpentine are exactly the same. All right, as we said, as we progressed along, there's just a lot more leaning and turning involved. Okay, so we come through on this one, we'll come through on an angle of this way. So we'll bring it through, we come through, we look over to here. Okay, we dip the bike in to come across, and we transition, and we bring it as close as possible to this cone here. And we come through, we're looking over here now, back the way we came from that gate. We bring it round, to bring it back, holding it, then we transition to bring it round, looking now back to that gate where we came through. Okay, because that's where we're going to head. Back through here, coming back. Then we're looking over to the far gate. We bring it round, once again to the outside cone, and then so forth and so on down the line. Okay, so the head and eyes one there is when you come through the gate, you're looking back to the gate that you came from. We then come through, look back at the gate, etc. Each time we go through, look back at the gate, because that's where you got to go back to turn around to come through the next gate. Once again, same process. Leaning and turning the bars and using your foot to control, right? So using your foot on the rear brake to control it, okay? Remember, the rear brake gives you control, and correction is what is used by the rear brake. So if you need to speed up, you let it off. You need to slow down, you bring it down. Clutch and grips, all the same. Friction zone, the throttle, keep it loaded above the 2,000 RPMs or 2,000 thereabouts. Friction zone 1, hold them there. That's all you need to do is hold them there. Use your foot to slow down and speed up. Okay, I'll go through it now. Once again, I don't normally use the rear brake, but that's just, I've gotten used to it. But if you need to use it, you have it above it, you use it to slow down or speed up. That's the main thing. Depending on you and your individual use, what you need, what you feel, because all these exercises are about what you feel. Okay, I feel I need more power, I feel I need less power. I feel I need to be further in the friction zone or slightly back. That's up to you. It's all about the feel. Okay, let's do that. First gear, foot covering the rear brake, preload, friction zone, foot up. Okay, head and eyes back in where you came. Spin around. Head and eyes looking back to where you came again, back to that one. Looking around, head and eyes again, turning back to where you came from. Dipping it in, dipping it in. All right, dipping it in. Head and eyes, nice and slow for you. Dipping it in, dipping it in. And ka-ching. Back the other way. Head and eyes. And ka-ching. So as you can see there, it's fairly straightforward. Looking back from the gate you came from, then once you come back, then transition into the next one. And you just repeat it, so forth and so on. And once you're good at it, you can start to speed up, lean it over a bit further, etc. Like I said, nothing changes from the earlier ones when you've done the single serpentine to here. Everything from the single serpentine builds you up to this type of thing, where lots of leaning, lots of turning. Control of the throttle and the clutch remains the same throughout the whole process. So by now you would have seen when we spoke earlier on at the start about how you've got to crawl before you can walk. That being able to control the brake, foot brake, the throttle and the clutch all together gives you that control over your motorcycle at slow speeds. No matter what bike it is, how big or how small or how powerful, it's all exactly the same process. Yep, it all applies. The principles all stay the same. Provided you provide sufficient power to the rear wheel, your bike will not fall over. If you go through here and you drop the bike, it's either the bike stalled because you didn't have the preload, or you didn't have sufficient power to the rear wheel. End of story. No other reason why it would fall. Okay, that's the only reasons they will fall over. And that's why you ask people when they do drop them. So what do you think happened? But it'll only be one of those two things. Well, oh, I think I leaned it too far or whatever. It's no, you didn't lean too far because your boards weren't scraping, if they weren't scraping. And if you dropped it, not enough power to keep it upright. Okay. So like I said, all those simple movements all come into play as you come along, from the stops and starts, the left turns, the right turns, okay, then into the single serpentine, lean to lean and turn the bars, into the U-turns, turning it right around now, bring it in, then into your figure eights. Okay, getting into the figure eights, doing full 360 circles. Okay, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So it's just progressively harder and harder and harder to enhance your skills. Okay, then up to this one here, the final exercise, which is the double serpentine. Okay, so look, I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, like it, subscribe to it. I'll be putting some more up on some other tips and traits of slow riding, and we'll see how it goes from there. So until next time, viewers, stay safe, stay upright, remain in the friction zone. Have a good one.